Everyone, welcome to Ryam as everyone is stripping naked again. Oh, now we're all in dresses and shirts and okay, well, I wonder what's happening this week. Everyone looks great, by the way. I feel very underdressed now that everyone's in like three-piece suits and shit. But welcome back to Ryam, everyone. This is your Dungeon Master Scoot, back with the Gaffers for another week. Nothing's happened yet to me, which I find very suspicious, first off. But I guess I will move forward as I am wont to do with our questions. So, Gaffers, this week, the question I'd like you to particularly answer for the folks at home and for further character development is one of two. One, what are three non-consequential pet peeves that your character has? Example, toilet paper going over the top, Pepsi not being okay at the restaurant. Or, what are three little things that your character loves that other NPCs or characters do that NPC or character may not be cognitively, consciously aware of that they're doing? Take it away, Gaffers.
For the record, Scoot, this is it. We're just dressed up fancy. That's all there is to it. It is okay.
You actually gave
it to drop.
This was your idea from last week, and we're like, what if?
Okay.
We just got fancy.
I knew they should have. Okay. I'm still waiting for that shoe. Fuck you guys. Anyway, question.
Good. I guess I'll go. I'm Deb. I'm playing Tessa, Tiefling Paladin. I came up with lists of both, but I feel like there's not a lot that you probably don't know about her, so I think the pet peeves are a little bit more interesting, so I'll go with that. For her, baking has to be totally precise. If people just start throwing things in without consulting the recipe or measuring, very annoying.
You hate cooking with Allie, then.
People who don't pick up after themselves at the training grounds and gym, like re-rack your sword for Laura's sake and clean up any blood and sweat.
I feel that in real life.
I was going to say, I feel like this is going to be a little bit of a projection intro.
It's not that hard. Re-rack your shit. Also, she does not like when people kick up their shoes and put them on furniture. It's like chairs, sofas, tables. It's dirty, it's rude, and it's gross.
Kiki has strong feelings about... Well, so Kiki either has strong feelings about stuff or no feelings at all. Like, there's no... Like, she just doesn't care about a bunch of shit. But, so Kiki... Things that drive Kiki crazy is, like, lists that are not alphabetized or ordered logically. Like, if you just present her with, like, a bunch of options and stuff, like, if there's no logic behind it, that will drive her bonkers. Conversely, her workshop is a hot mess. Like, she knows where everything is, but for some reason, categorization is super huge. So that's one pet peeve. Two, we've established on the show, being served eggs. Like, she doesn't care if other people eat them, but, like, if you put, like, eggs in front of her as a Kenku, as a bird person, she's a little bit, like... It just makes her queasy. Like, she's not like, I mean, ravens are like carrion eaters and shit anyway. Like, she's not like above it. She doesn't give a shit about it. But that's, and then the third is probably a little more serious, which is like anti-intellectualism. Like, anything that smacks of just like lack of evidence base or like just completely unfounded, make her pull her feathers out of her hat. Like, she just, she would absolutely lose her shit about that. So, and she might actually like get to fisticuffs or her version of it if that came up. Yeah.
Talon to cuffs?
Throwing explosives.
No, well, that's
okay, yes.
Accurate. We'll workshop it, but
yeah. I can go next. Hello, I play Robert. I am Robert. I play Nikki, the human wizard. And I, in real life, combed my beard today. That's my commitment to the dressing up bit. And put on a full suit, but the beard's the important part. Nikki has many petty complaints about the world around her, but three of them in particular are brunch without orange juice availability is very distressing, but brunch where the only orange juice availability is like bullshit rehydrated orange juice is even worse. Kind of on a similar vein is bullshit not meat, which is to say she thinks eating meat is great. There's plenty of magically produced actual meat in Ryam, and that's great. There's plenty of delicious plant foods, and those are great. But there's also plenty of like, it tastes just like a burger patty, and she's not into that. She's very much use it as, you know, campfire fuel after drying it out, but not much more than that.
Stop trying to make cauliflower into pizza crust. It's never going to be pizza crust. Let it be cauliflower.
Precisely. Cauliflower is great. So is pizza, but not as the same thing, man.
All right. I'm going to interject with an unpopular opinion. Cauliflower
one down.
cheesesteaks are really good.
Really?
What?
They are. I've had several very, very good cauliflower cheesesteaks.
Is this
They are
Not the
no
point.
a
Is
black
this
cauliflower with
drenched
cheese
in
on it?
and therefore delicious as all things drenched in cheese are?
Yeah, so it's on the Philadelphia cheesesteak roll and has a lot of cheese on it. And if you're going in expecting a cheesesteak, maybe not, but it tastes fantastic.
Okay, I'm happy to accept that cauliflower with cheese on a big roll
And,
is A+.
yeah. Anything with cheese, right?
But that does not
Yeah.
pizza make, I will say.
No. That's travesty.
Yeah. And then her third petty annoyance is indeterminate dress guidelines, which is to say, obviously, Nikki loves being casual. Nikki also delights in getting to dress up. But when it's like, oh, it's a dinner with the professor, dress comfortably. And she shows up in a tank top, and everyone else is in like
and
button
just
downs.
a tank top, by the way.
Yes, that's what's comfortable. That's what the invite
Professor.
said. Hey, she's seen the movies.
Which
I have a
movies,
quick
Rob?
follow-up.
So you know how to avoid them, right?
I have a quick follow-up question. Is Nikki
Uh-huh.
a mimosa kind of girl?
Oh, she's into it, yeah.
Yeah. I
Who
think
doesn't like a mimosa?
It is the premier brunch cocktail.
Although there was one time that I went to this place in DC that did Irish coffee and made the Irish coffee with a Redbreast 12-year, which on the one hand is almost like a criminal waste of a Redbreast 12-year. On the other hand, if someone offers me Redbreast 12-year in my Irish coffee, I'm not going to say no.
That's fair. I'll give an Irish coffee is up there in terms of brunch cocktails, on par with the mimosa, if and only if the person making it actually gives a shit about their coffee.
Yeah,
I like that as an after-dinner cocktail.
I agree. This is also a good time for it.
I've never had it as a breakfast. I've never even thought to have it as a breakfast option. You've opened a new world for me.
Oh.
It's coffee. What's not to love?
So we're gonna have cauliflower cheesesteaks and Irish coffee.
And Irish coffee with
12 years.
extremely expensive whiskey.
There we go.
Brunch.
Yes,
The perfect brunch.
I know where to go. So when you guys come up to Philly,
When all that YouTube money finally starts pouring in, that's the first thing we'll do.
There we go.
Yes.
Hot.
Yes.
I think I'm last. I'm Kate. I play our half tiefling, half cocoon monk, Allie. I'm gonna buck the trend a little bit. I'm going to go with 3 things that Allie really likes about things that people in the party do that they aren't cognizant of. The thing that Nikki does that she really likes that Nikki is not aware of is when Nikki falls asleep while cuddling you, she does this thing where she just like curls around your arm and hugs it, kind of like your arm's a
Aw.
teddy bear. And Allie thinks this is adorable as fuck.
She give it the hug.
Kiki does this thing when she's working intently and not paying attention to what she's doing, where it's not that she sticks her tongue out the side of her beak, because like that would not work terribly well, and also she might accidentally bite it off. But like every so often you'll look over and there's just like she's got a feather in the corner of her mouth and she's kind of just like gnawing on it. Hopefully.
It tracks.
And the thing that Tessa does that she absolutely loves, which she's probably told Tessa before because she thinks Tessa doesn't hear this enough and she wants to remind her of it. She particularly likes how instinctively protective Tessa is of things that are smaller than her, but not in a way that's like, you are incapable of caring for yourself, but more in a way that's like, you are small, I am large, must protect.
that tracks.
Precursor to the geckos, then.
Must protect.
All right, folks, thank you very much. But now we will rejoin the gaffers themselves on Nikki's estate. It's been quite a wild night. There was a challenge to Nikki's holdings, which was thwarted last session, of course, on the bridge, and we saw 2 deaths on the bridge. A couple other things were kind of happening overnight.
Technically, one of the deaths was off the bridge. I
Well,
think.
first it was on the bridge, and then it was off the bridge for shortly after.
The gaffers came away with quite a heavy prize purse. It's gonna be one of those.
That's me.
Yep. As well as 2 new beings that are going to temporarily, perhaps involuntarily, stay, we thought, at the estate until people figured out what to do with them. Over the course of the night and off screen, a couple of things happened, and we learned that the monk who was traveling with them was a monk of the Path of Mercy. We also learned a couple of interesting things, or at least Aaliyah did.
Allie did.
Earlier.
Yeah, so Allie and this monk fucked, obviously. But also...
First off.
Jack's not JPEG, you know.
So Allie and said monk were hanging out on the roofs because monks do abnormal shit like hang out on roofs, apparently. And
you do. And I don't know if we can... Not all monks hashtag.
My monk does. Anyway, hanging out on the roof, and... trying to remember how the conversation got started exactly. Allie asked, basically, the monk, whose name is Galilea, basically said something that indicated there was a time before she was on the Path of Mercy, and I was like, oh, that sounds like a story, you should tell me it. At which point, Galilea, just trauma dumps, and it is revealed that when she was relatively young, her father and a monk of the Way of Death murdered a black cloak, and she was basically the bait for it. And the price of the assistance of the monk of the Way of Death, whose name is Draven, was her. She's kind of involuntarily bound to him. There's a tattoo on her neck. It seems to involve some kind of energy from Valhita, which we've heard of before. She's been on the run ever since, which is how she ended up on the Path of Mercy. At first, she said she did the killing, at which point Allie was like, okay, I'm the daughter of the queen of the person that you killed, so kind of gotta arrest you now. Which Locke didn't terribly like, because apparently the Free Peaks are a place where you don't take people back. You can't extradite. They don't have an extradition policy with Antara, basically.
Like an asylum.
Yes. But we then figured out that it wasn't actually her who did the murdering, it was her brother and Draven, and we have met Draven before. Draven was the monk under the mountain when we were in on Mir, who fucked some shit up severely, and we did not manage to catch him, unfortunately. So now we gotta catch him. Also, she has a mentor whose name is Go. Go is a mousefolk monk. So we're currently trying to find and protect Go, because Galilea has been told that if she doesn't do what she's supposed to, they will kill Go. So also off-screen, Allie has written to her aunt, Briseis, who is the queen of Antara, asking for a couple things, but among them, can you send some, sneaky rogue types to watch over Go and make sure she's safe? And I think separately, Tessa has also written to Razalisk.
Yes, she wrote to Razalisk in Ankh-Karak, which is actually pretty close to where the original murder had taken place, to try to... Raton Rouge is not terribly far from Ankh-Karak, so they can probably go out there. And also important is that this Dreven is trying to stop the Council of Friendship from happening, so there is a little bit of a link there back to what we're currently doing.
How's that Rubik's Cube, Kiki?
Fine.
So, it was a long night for the gaffers. Well, most of you, as Kiki probably was either, I guess, working in a workshop, but then passed out at some point. I don't know. Kiki seems to have a very varied sleep schedule.
Completely varied.
I feel like some of the geckos probably, like a couple of the geckos together will occasionally drag Kiki over to a cot that she has set up in there and just tuck her in.
Yeah.
I could believe that'd be a thing that happens.
I could see that, absolutely. Especially if Tessa put them on Kiki watch.
Yeah, I think she would have, just to make sure you're eating and sleeping and not hunched over your work.
Kiki Watch 2020.
This is one of the ways that Kiki and I usually never have to remind me to eat. But I think Kiki has probably helped the geckos trick out the defenses of their barn or whatever it is to the max. So she's probably now looking to work with Nikki and her head of security, Locke, to be how many trebuchets do you want around the place? Like general security.
How
like,
many do you want? Either
not
way.
the FQ1.
Yep. Either way, it's been a very long night as everyone settles back in. More messages were sent in the dead of the night to different people. But night wanes as this was happening around probably midnight, 1 a.m. and early morning comes. The lights of the first dawn. And Nikki, you're, in your bed, finally asleep. Aaliyah, Allie, you too. When suddenly from the lake that's near your property,
Allie would not be this deeply asleep. She was warned.
Yeah. You wait in the dead of the night, and Nikki, you're probably asleep because you're a human that keeps relatively. You're a wizard. You need your sleep because that's where magic comes from. That's how you get magic back. But you hear this weird fog rolls in. You don't notice it at first, but you hear a very large splash in the lake next to you that's on your property, which is where a lot of your fresh water tends to come from. And then ringing out in the night is just something, a very odd sound as you hear boof, boof, coming from somewhere on the water.
Nikki's up for sure. Throws her window open. I've got a little bit of a balcony. So I
what boof through yonder window breaks?
There is a ship, a sizable seaworthy vessel that is just in your lake, and your lake does not have access to the ocean. There's no river. There's probably underground shenaniganry water table that moves the water at some point, but this boat should not be here. You did not put this here. There was no boat yesterday, but there is now boat.
Kind of rub my eyes. I go back inside. I lay down. I count to 5. I get back up. I come out on the balcony. Still a boat?
Still boat.
Fuck.
Except now you see 2 figures moving into the house. Very, very casually.
You probably by this point also hear Allie's door has been thrown open, a little bit later thrown shut, and you don't hear Monk footsteps because she's sneaky and quiet, but it's plausible assumption.
I'm gonna say you don't hear Monk footsteps because you don't hear Monk footsteps.
What you do hear is something happening in the kitchen. You hear plates being rustled, a big pot is being put on the stove, you can hear clanging, and you hear a low music is happening. It's a low rumba or a samba is just kind of very quietly put on there, so not to really disturb people, but you're already up, so you hear it.
Nick is thoroughly distressed about what's going on. I don't suppose that Lady Ku is known to be a samba fanatic.
No, it's also a little early at this point. It's even early for her to be here. She knows,
yeah.
Bet you wish you had a trebuchet right about now.
Bet you wish you had a trebuchet like me. I kind of hastily get dressed, so I just throw on whatever's in front of my closet, and downstairs I go.
Okay.
Concernedly.
And as you round the corner and you kind of peek through the door, you see what is known as an otter folk. So it's an anthropomorphic just otter that's about the height of a dwarf, is moving around the kitchen to the music. He is wearing tight leather pants, nothing else except for a chef's apron and a hat, and he is spinning a lot as he begins to cook. And there is another gentleman who's sitting there, very tall, pretty lithe gentleman with big Goku hair, big old anime hair, and a sword that is slightly too big for him. Not like a Buster sword from Cloud, but definitely bigger and beefier than this guy should in theory be able to wield. Who's just
matches the hair.
Yeah. But speaking of the hair, the otter eventually will ask him for things, which the gentleman will then reach into his hair, kind of rummage around a bit, and then pull out jars of preserves. He then pulls out a stack of bagels, and then a Cadbury cream egg, TM, and then and then he eats that.
I kind of murmur as I come in and survey. I'm like, that can't be sanitary. Hello, gentle man and otter. Can I help you?
So the otter, as soon as you speak, does a quick spin, points finger guns at you and goes, "You, what are you having?" Sausage it is! And he just turns around and he asks the gentleman for it, goes in the hair, pulls out sausage, gives it to him, and he begins frying it.
Nikki kind of rubs her temples. Can I order drinks too?
Yeah, what do you need?
Mimosa.
He points to the gentleman, who produces orange juice, rummages around and can't quite find the... Then he finds a bottle of champagne, gives it to the otter, and the otter mixes it up very quickly and rhythmically, puts it on a tray, spins over to you, not dropping a drop of the mimosa, and then presents it to you.
Despite herself, Nikki can't help being a little bit impressed.
He goes,
This comes the real test. Is it bullshit fake orange juice?
No,
or
it's
is it good
very
orange juice?
real.
Is it real champagne or is it Prosecco?
No, it's real. And he goes, "You've been served by Larry, the world's sexiest otter." And then he spins back to the stove and continues cooking.
I looked Larry up and down. Can confirm?
Can confirm. As if you're into otter folk, this is the otter folk to have.
All right, good to know. What are you all doing here?
No. And the gentleman kind of looks at you as the otter begins, like, again, he's periodically handing him ingredients. He goes, "Sorry, we didn't want to use any of your stuff, because we didn't, that would be kind of rude. My name's Frank. I'm from the Shadowfell."
Hi, Frank.
Yeah.
The pardon?
Yeah, well, partially. I'm a real boy. Don't worry. Yeah, we're here with my wife, and we were told by Finn that you guys had some sort of like sweet party house or something. I don't really pay attention.
It's at this point that Allie kind of comes into the kitchen, notices Frank there, then notices Larry there, and then notices that Licky looks really confused. Nick, you remember when I said I was going to tell more people about the temple thing?
Do all of your friends come in boats?
If I'm with them.
I was waiting.
Point of inspiration, Kate.
This is Frank. He's the Admiral's husband. This is Larry. He's the Admiral's cook and also the world's sexiest daughter. Has he told you that already? It's very important that he tell you that.
Finger guns
He
to
has.
Ellie.
He did this
Finger
thing.
guns to Nikki. Continues to cook.
Hi, Frank. Is the Admiral outside?
She's picking out a hat.
Oh, important. Okay, where's Finn, though? Because, if Finn's not here, I feel like Finn is probably setting up a prank somewhere, and I need to be armed.
And you see him, Nikki, he just dissipates into shadow, and then moves into the shadows of a corner, and then he's just gone.
Okay, this is a morning.
Promise I invited them. They're not just random people out of... So, alright, backstory. The Admiral is...
Please?
She represents one of the houses. She doesn't represent them. She works for them? Oh, she works in Ventos. That's right. Lady Belladonna something or other.
Wait,
Anyway, I thought that'd be a good way to get...
Lady Belladonna?
Yes,
Yeah, that one.
Nikki would know that is the most powerful trade lord.
You're just casually friends with Lady Belladonna.
I'm not friends with Lady Belladonna. I'm friends
Okay.
with the Admiral's son, and also the Admiral's... I guess he's a cabin boy at this point. And the Admiral works for Lady Belladonna. She's kind of very important to Lady Belladonna.
Okay.
So if she's coming here, then Lady Belladonna will be interested. Which is good, because then Ventus is interested.
Okay. Yeah, no kidding. Gods. Okay. Nikki is clearly having a little bit of trouble processing this. As someone who
You
grew
want
up in
some caffeine?
Ventos. Oh, please.
Allie will start making coffee.
Yeah.
It is at this moment that you see a red panda come scurrying in the door, hop up on Allie's shoulder, and then sits on top of her head.
Nikki, you've never heard
Hello.
Allie squee before in the way that very, very white girls squee when they're excited about something adorable. Allie's gonna squee.
Okay.
She's going to grab the panda, hug it very tightly, and then immediately turn into a fox, and they're gonna start chasing each other around the kitchen.
Nikki's like, oh, hello, you're both running around. Okay. All right. That's
Allie
just
is
how the
going to-
morning is today.
Allie the fox is going to stop in front of a particular sack of potatoes.
To add to
Nikki is
to
going
add,
to look at the sack of potatoes.
to add to the confusion, that poof of shadow comes back in, and not only does Frank reform himself, but he brings a tiefling woman with him.
And
Hi.
you see the tiefling woman is fairly short, has black hair and tanned skin with purple goat horns, an extremely large pirate hat with feathers. She is
When
dressed-
Deb starts to introduce a character and goes extremely large,
You
my
assume-
next thought is not pirate hat.
She is dressed ornately in vestments that show off both her status and her boobs. There you go.
There it is.
There it is. And she has light purple eyes with a scar that runs down her eyebrow, like from the top of her eyebrow to her cheek on her left side. On her sides are 2 obsidian scimitars and a large steampunk style pistol. And she appears like a little bit more gruff and intimidating than the kind of goofy, friendly attitude that Frank has. And she is kind of like orienting herself. She's kind of used to this bamfing, but it's still a little jarring. So she kind of braces her hand on like a chair to kind of stand up and brush her admiral gear off appropriately.
Frank just looks to you, Nikki, and goes, "This is my wife," and then he gives her he stage points to her to draw the attention to her.
My wife.
Right.
My wife. If you'll all excuse me just a moment, I'm just gonna be like 2 minutes, and I step out and go down the hall a little bit, and anyone who has particularly keen perception hears a door open, and then a faint Phyllis. Under no circumstances are you to leave this room until I say otherwise.
Oh.
And then the door closes,
And
and then
Phyllis
I.
is but
come back.
madam. Okay, and then just kind of sits back down.
Cast a sleep spell on Phyllis so that he doesn't wake up from.
I'm
his
going to
sleep.
lose my poor keeper. All right. So I come back to the kitchen and take a moment as I walk back the hallway to compose myself a little bit and have some of my coffee. And I come in. Do I know the admiral's name already?
You would know that it's Morgana Pendragon, and she is, if you like her, she is known as the Dragon Admiral. If you are parties that are not fans of House Lombard or her, she's known as the Sky Witch. But again, the House the House of Lombard has always been very, very good to Ventos, and your history with them is probably if you got free food for a reason, it was probably due to their patronage. Sometimes out of the genuine goodness of their heart, sometimes because that buys political clout and they enjoy that. But you know this admiral, not personally, but you have seen her boat flies, and you have seen that come to Ventos, and it's always a big deal, because from time to time there has been a large demon head or something shackled to the side. As this is something that this admiral does on the regular, is just murder these demons.
Yes.
Side hustle.
Cool. So I'll come back in and nod my head. Admiral Pendragon.
Ah, you must be Lady Doxborn, right? And she does extend her hand for a shake.
I have service. I take it and shake.
I hear you're from Ventos.
That I am. Grew up on the docks, born and raised.
I can respect that. So, I heard a rumor that there's some kind of council that you're putting together.
You are absolutely correct. If you'll excuse me again, sorry. I'll go get the sort of organizer for that whole endeavor. And just to make your life difficult, Deb, I go get Tessa and wake her up.
Allie will pop back into human form in part to, tiefling form, in part to be helpful and in part to spare Deb a little bit.
Oh no, I'm gonna do something with
All right.
with Finn too. I'm just waiting for Nikki to be back in the room.
Okay.
I'll go get Tessa, give her, let her know what's up. Friendship council shenanigans afoot, and then head back.
So Tessa
She'll be
hears the
along in a
knock
few
at the
minutes.
door, and she kind of sits up. She actually was asleep because I think it's still even early for her, and
It's
her
like
hair is
5
kind of
a.m.
a
or
mess.
something.
She's like, okay, I'll be there in like 5 minutes, and she's like,
No problem.
hustling to put her friend sheep sweater on, get her hair in order. So she's doing that.
Tessa, you would notice that Thrax is trying to get up with you, but Bosco has him pinned to the bed. And he's like, I guess I want to help. And Bosco is just dead weight, not moving.
But don't worry, I got this.
He passes back out. So Tessa arrives, Nikki with Nikki in tow.
So okay,
Right.
I'm here. What's going on? And actually, I think Tessa does know the Admiral and Frank and what they look like, because I think that there may have been an occasion where they were at a Benkala family party with Kai, who for the audience is their son and is a friend of Tessa and her cousins and stuff. So I think she may have seen them in passing. So she says, Admiral Pendragon, what a surprise. It's nice to see you here. And the Admiral nods and says, so I guess you're in charge of this council. And she kind of like lets it hang and waiting for Tessa to kind of explain it. So Tessa says, oh, right. Sorry, it's a little early. Right, so we are assembling people from all of the different countries into a council so that everybody can get together and share ideas on everything, like trade and education, and we wanted to extend the offer out to pretty much anyone we can so that everybody is equally represented. And Morgana nods, and she says, okay, Lady Belladonna is very interested in having a seat at this council. If you would care to show me what it looks like. And Tessa nods again. She's like, okay, we can make an expedition out today if you like. So Morgana kind of nods her head, and she sits at the table in the kitchen and just kind of helps herself to like the plate of sausages that Larry is cooking up.
Within moments of everyone getting sit, Larry spins around, fries are up, and he puts a plate of piping hot French fries onto the breakfast table.
Tessa does say through the bracelet to, Kiki, wake up. We have guests. You may want to be here for this.
You hear mentally. Kiki was very snoozing, and she's like, "What? Hi. Who?
Yeah, I think you'll like this one. She's got a lot of really cool toys.
Oh, toys. Be right there."
So speaking of that, Kiki, as you're kind of getting yourself together and heading off towards the manor home, since the shed is a little further from the house, you do hear something odd coming. It sounds like marching, but there's also very deep voices singing, and then as it gets closer, you hear like a chitty chitty bang bang vehicle just kicking out. And you look out and just see this column of marching dwarves coming at you. And one of them is riding on this massive, like, box contraption that just has all these things spinning, smoke pouring out the back, and looks incredibly complex and mechanical.
Kiki has completely forgot about Tessa's summons. Not like willfully, just is completely just mesmerized by this, like, to the point where I'm not sure if she would even like hail the dwarves as much as she's just like watching it like in slow motion, like, like heart eyes basically. Yeah, you could just like play like romantic music in the background. She's a little bit like, hello gorgeous, and she means she'll try to get herself together and be like, hi. Because she's also like, and then she realizes, like, wait, should people be on the land? But she's like, they must be good people. They have machines.
So as you get closer to Kiki, this thing looks like a VW bus. There's a dwarf in a crazy headgear with a tricked out rifle on his back that seems to be driving, but from like the top of it, not inside. And he's in front with the column as there's just this marching band of dwarves behind him singing. But like the column stretches back for not a mile, but like quite a ways, like quarter of a mile or a mile, and they have wagons pulled by gacks, huge rams, like massive, like small draft horse-sized goats, full of supplies, masonry material, with this engineer up front, and he just goes, "Hey, Gekko, where's we're looking for Lady Darkspawn. You know what she is?"
Kiki nods. Through the bracelet, she goes, Hi, being invaded by dwarves with things, cool things. Maybe want to see Nikki ask for you, and then she'll use her boots of flight to like fly up to like level with him, mainly to get a look at the vehicle. Like she's not being like confrontational or anything. She's basically like you know, like looking at the racing stripes or whatever the dwarven thing has.
Yeah.
Like she barely restrains herself from like touching it and wanting to poke it parts. And then she's like, "Oh, Nikki might come." She's like, "Nikki, can you come through the thing?"
He laughs
because she only knows they're guests.
Right. He laughs and he goes, "You must. You're Kiki, right?"
Yes.
Yeah, we heard about you. You're the engineer around here, right?
Kiki looks a little like, well, you know, yes. Right. She's like slightly modest.
And you see this gentleman he's on the older side even for a dwarf. Like the beard is very grayed, but not completely. And he smiles and he goes, and because he sees you just awestruck at his contraption that he is astride. He goes, "Would you like to go inside?" And he's like a submarine top, just cranks it and just opens it up, and just invites you in.
Another message to the Slap chat. He's like, "You don't hear from me. Died happy." She goes, she's like, it could be an invading army. She doesn't know, but there's this like mechanical business going on, so she's all about it.
Right, and on the inside, Kiki, you see this thing is basically like a multi-purpose vehicle. It's like a Transformer Bobcat. Like there's all sorts of like excavation. It's got winches out the wazoo. There's this engine being powered by a magical crystal that seems to be running the whole thing in the middle, and it is intricate and complex. And as far as you know, this should not fucking work. You don't know how this. It sort of makes sense as you're like, okay, but it's sort of like if I put a car block in front of you right now, you're like, this. I know this works somehow, but I do not know the intricacies of this.
It defies the laws of physics. So is the dwarf in the room with me, or is he still up driving? And
he's
like
up driving. There's enough for like one or two dwarves on the inside in its compact form. So there's enough room for Kiki to kind of move around without getting caught on anything. But he's still moving it towards what he thinks is the house. So the column stopped momentarily, and then it begins to move slowly again as the dwarves begin singing their marching song again.
So, speaking of getting caught, is there like an instruction manual or anything obvious, like around, like or schematics or something?
No.
Damn it! Because Kiki really wants to look for it. I have to tell you, she would shamelessly and without compunction, like shoplift the shit out of something like that. If she saw it, she would basically like and put it in. So
yeah,
all right.
He's smarter than that. He's let you into the inner work, into the guts of this thing, but he's not. He wants to keep his intellectual property safe. So like there are cabinets which are locked through various very intricate mechanisms, which he definitely has a key to, and you can try to pick, although you think he might become very upset by that. And there also is like maybe a battalion of dwarves armed behind him with various ranged and melee weapons. So, you know,
Kiki debates.
You can take your chances with that.
Kiki debates cost-benefit analysis. She, for once, she just sketches a few quick notes about the layout inside. Just from what she can observe, she doesn't touch any of the button. And then
This is the saddest I've ever heard Kiki.
This is pretty sad for Kiki. She really, really wants to like levers and gears, and she wants the whirling things. And then she'll pop her head out, and she's like, "So cool, so cool." And then if they're not going the right way, she'll point them toward the.
Yep. So he'll have you
house.
like get right next to him, and if you're standing, you're taller than he is sitting, and he tells you that, right? Well, it's just good. Glad this place has an engineer. If you'd like later, I can show you how it works. There's an open field somewhere, but we gotta go stop by and see the owner of the place first. Obviously, we don't want anyone. And he looks back to this again, column of troops and other like various support people with him. He goes, yeah, we don't want to cause a whole lot of ruckus. Although he looks back and like between the chitty chitty bang bang of this thing and them singing, some of them are probably drunk, slightly. So this is causing a scene, but they are traveling.
Casually,
yeah.
Casual 4 a.m. tipple,
Crawl, yeah.
At this point, since no one's responded to Kiki's slap chat, she'll do her mimicry trade, be like, "Hey, Nick."
I was gonna respond. I just didn't want to interrupt the submarine scene, the submerge scene. Okay, so you get a slap chat back. A very already weary Nikki says, "Okay, I'll get ready. Thanks."
Kiki will be like, "Don't pull a Phyllis. Don't get stressed."
At that, Nikki takes like a few deep breaths and like takes a moment to kind of center herself. And goes to. She figures she has a little bit of time, so she heads back upstairs to go put on more Lady of the Manor clothes rather than, oh god, somebody's in my kitchen clothes.
Right. Allie, Tessa, what are you folks doing with the Pendragons downstairs? Because at this point, like, Larry, for all his graceful spinning, has made a extremely lavish spread as Frank continues to pull ingredients out of his head seemingly endlessly. Are you just digging in? Are you just chit-chatting until the rest show up?
I think Tessa would she be talking with the Admiral a little bit about more details, what the council looks like, what they've been up against so far. Not really getting into the enemy stuff per se, but just kind of like the geckos and things like that. So they're sitting there chatting.
Mm-hmm. And Frank goes, geckos, and at this point, probably Selmek comes in. Because at this point, Phyllis is definitely aware of the column of dwarves because they are very loud, and he just comes in and pulls on Tessa's clothing.
Yes, so Mike.
And he informed you about Phyllis is freaking out again, and he wants to know if he should go in there and deal with that.
Yes.
Or, yeah.
You know what to do, Somek.
Mm-hmm. He grabs some food from the table, and then he puts some in his own mouth real quick and grabs some more.
Godspeed, little man.
Heads off to Phyllis's room.
At that moment, though, the red panda that is on Allie's shoulder pops down and goes poof, and for the audience, a 6-foot-tall, red-haired tiefling male with big black trickster horns runs over, picks up Allie into a giant hug, and spins her around the room.
Allie is currently giggling madly. And is hugging him very tightly as well.
Nikki,
did you get the glitter? Did you guys get the glitter-filled one though?
We did actually. And,
okay, good.
I can't deal with Kai anymore. He gets the potatoes and he enjoys it. He's not supposed to enjoy it, Allie.
Okay, but he enjoyed the glitter?
He ate it.
He ate the glitter.
Yes.
Good thing I got edible glitter.
For sure.
I have siblings. They eat everything. I figured it was probably safest to do it that way.
I think these guys just don't appreciate a good prank.
Right. I need to introduce you to Kiki, but Kiki might have been... She might have absconded with a horde of dwarves? I'm not entirely sure. It's a little bit unclear currently.
The dwarves either kidnapped her, or she kidnapped that column of dwarves. It's one
I'm
or
not
the
entirely
other.
sure which happened, so, like, I'm gonna get back to you on that, but, like, you're gonna meet her, I promise.
So,
She's
like,
great.
it's Wednesday for you.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nikki, at this point you see the column of dwarves rock up as you come back down. So you look in the kitchen. There's now another red-headed tiefling gentleman that was not there before. He is
kind of
here.
shake my head like, of course there is.
Oh,
Obviously.
he walks over to Nikki and is like, you must be the Lady Doxborn. It is a pleasure to meet you. And he says, kind of shaking her hand. My business card, he says, handing over a small piece of paper. And you can see that it's not actually a
Reluctantly
business
take
card.
it.
It's actually a coupon for Hot Topic written in crayon. He's like, I don't have a business card. That coupon is valid, though. Finn Stormbringer at your service.
That's some deep.
All right.
That's some deep
I'll-
Ryan lore right there.
I'll fold it and tuck it into my belt pouch. Lady Doxborn at yours. I'm going to go I'm going to go see a bird about a dwarf.
He nods sagely and goes to join the rest of the group at breakfast of all my characters sitting at the same table.
Outside, Nikki, you see that the column has pulled up. There are three main figures. You see Kiki on top of this insane contraption, having a good time as the dwarf engineer is answering all of the questions he thinks is safe to answer for the Kenku. He doesn't doubt
He's
Kiki's-
wrong about at least half of them.
Right, he doesn't doubt her skill of anything, but he's sort of like, it's more of like, I need to make sure she doesn't... He kind of thinks she might hijack this, not out of malice, but because she thinks it's that cool. And he's like, I need to, she needs to not know how the operating system works right now.
It's a compliment, really.
Yeah.
Kiki's also doing that anime character thing where she like zips to like all over the machine, and she's like, "Zip! What does this do? Zip, what does this do? Oh, this is cool!"
And he's just kind of answering them as he gets them if she gives him a chance to. You also see there is another male dwarf, even kind of older, that looks incredibly grumpy. He has runes, dwarven runes, all over his clothing. And a big hammer with massive, like a very magical hammer. There also is a female dwarf in Thane's clothing, kind of a more military or political leader. She appears to be the youngest of the trio. And then you see these columns of heavily armored, probably specialized in like underground fighting, dwarven, decked out in iron and steel. And then you just see this long line of like builders and all sorts of craftsmen that have come from somewhere with a lot of supplies that you did not order or pay for. All
right, well, I'll kind of come up to the front of the line there, and I'll give them a curtsy. Since I don't really know what their greeting is, and kind of look up at Kiki and, I see you found the way to her heart.
Yeah, and the engineer's way too busy. Again, he's probably not the formal talker. The rune gentleman just kind of goes, just not even that old man whiskey face talk, and it is the Thane that walks up to you and she removes her helmet and she goes, Lady Doxborn, my name is Craiga Ironbrow, and I am here among a behest of the Thane of Anmer and King Rin of Anshin. We are here to assist you with the temple. Rin has sent us north.
Welcome, and we are extremely glad to have you. Has it been a long journey? Do you need anywhere to stay?
I mean, we've been marching for only a day or two. We should be fine, though. We would like a place to stop for a while, maybe use that lake to bathe, if possible.
You'll have to contend with the boat, but otherwise have at.
Do you often have... Oh, and she kind of looks over thinking, like, you mean like a rowboat, and then she's like, oh. And she looks at the marking and she's like, "Oh, it's that one."
I nod. It's that one.
We see that one in Anmer sometimes. But as King Rin has also sent
a busy morning.
Yeah, King Rin has sent the best that Duraheim has to offer, as our engineer and our runesmith are ones that were responsible for the holding of the city during the Hellion siege of the War of the Prophecy.
Nikki raises her eyes at that appreciatively. I think we established, it might have been in a RP channel, but we've established that Nikki was not paying over much attention in history class.
No, but you know that Allie and Tessa will probably know what that means.
Yeah, so I do my best to like, make appreciative sounds and then kind of make a mental note like, I'll figure out what that is later.
Right. And she does nod to you and she goes, I would like to see to my troops now, but we will be out of your way though. And once we are able to, we would love to reinforce and begin singing to the defenses of the conclave.
Absolutely. I'll bring the Tessa. What's your actual title?
Champion.
I mean, yeah,
champion.
I was trying to think like manager, CEO. No, wait, the wrong universe.
I'll have the champion out
works.
to speak with you all as soon as she's available. She's a bit tied up with the admiral at the moment.
We thank you for your time. And she just does one of those heel turns, goes to the column, and begins screaming at them in a very marine way as they snap to. They all salute her and then begin casually making their way towards the lake to probably rest and get a shave in and a bath. And the more civilian ones kind of just start taking accounting. They pull Gax and Rams off to kind of let them rest.
Just Kiki go along.
Oh, that engineer has not left Kiki alone with that thing.
No. In fact, Kiki is using her mimicry trait to sing the dwarven songs along with them. Like she's bonding hardcore.
Best day for Kiki.
I kind of just look up at Kiki and shake my head a little bit and just turn around and go inside. Kiki's having a good time. I'm not gonna get in the way of that.
From the inside, Larry looks out and he goes, "Oh, Admiral, we got dwarves, a lot of them. Should I start cooking?"
Well, has that ever stopped you before, regardless of what I've said?
Nope, finger guns. And he begins asking Frank for things, and Frank pulls out a rack of ribs, like Fred Flintstone style, from his hair, and just gives it to him.
He just pulls out a flask of rum and pours it into her cup of coffee, very casually, like she does this every day, and just drinks it.
And Nikki, as you come back into the kitchen, you see that Allie and Finn, the redheaded tiefling, are sitting at the table. They're talking very fast, and it's kind of hard to follow. But you pick up something about a reference to potatoes, then glitter, then explosive dispersal devices, then something about a black book of puns, and a whole bunch of names that you aren't sure whether they're pranks or sex positions or both. It's both.
Why not both?
Spoilers.
All right. Oh boy. This is a morning. Okay. Administrivia that Nikki will have to deal with. She's going to go find a gecko to go intercept Lady Ku on her way in, and let her know that there's shenanigans afoot and maybe come in later.
Okay, so that happens. Lady Ku refuses because, God damn it, that's her kitchen.
Yeah.
She comes in and...
That's what I was afraid of.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Immediately falls for Larry's charms. She rolled a critical fail on a charisma.
Yeah!
I was like, all right, Scoot said, oh, no, so that's a 1 or a 20. This is going to go...
We
one
all
of two
fall
ways.
for Larry's charms, let's be honest.
And she begins
One of my favorite NPCs.
assisting him with all of his various shenanigans, to the point where she goes outside and makes basically a barbecue pit to feed these. There's way too many dwarves for just what's in here. Your stove is not enough. And he goes, I'll go to the ship, and he scurries along.
I try to be like, oh, Ku, I'm so sorry, but there's shenanigans going on, a bunch of royalty bullshit, and they've kind of taken over the kitchen, and I'm trying to be so
until she gets in and sees
she just charges past me and then starts dancing with Larry. Okay, I should have known.
I feel like Wagger Dagger Phyllis is in full Bilbo with the hobbits in the kitchen mode, and I think that Nikki's not far behind, to be really honest.
Honestly.
Except instead of the cheese wheels getting tossed around, Frank's just tossing cheese wheels from his hair.
Yes.
Everybody else is singing. There's cups everywhere.
Are you regretting leaving the docks yet, Nikki?
Almost every morning for the past, like, what, 5
months.
sessions?
Yeah.
I
So-
got tried to get killed, and then I got tried to get killed differently, and then...
Oh, that just means you're moving up in the world, the Admiral says.
Nikki kind of, like, looks a little thoughtful and, like, rolls her shoulders back a little bit. It's like, kind of needed to hear that.
When she says that, Frank reaches into his head and pulls out a perfectly boiled egg and goes, "Can I offer you an egg in this trying time?"
Scoot.
I didn't say it. Frank did.
Are you gonna face palm, Robert? Are you gonna pull it?
Don't give him the satisfaction. Don't give him the satisfaction.
I feel it earned it.
For the audience, Rob did a double face palm, and now I know how this feels to be on this side.
Now do you get why we do it, Scoot?
Oh yeah, I still hate it.
So delicious. It's a very good egg. I accept the egg.
Yep.
Thank you.
As you peel it, it is chocolate on the inside.
I
It
did
was
not.
an eggshell on the
expect
outside,
that.
but chocolate on the inside.
I break it open extremely gingerly because I'm afraid the inside is an actual yolk again.
Nope, it's caramel.
Yoke's
Okay.
on you.
It would have been just a horrible yolk if that had
Actually,
been.
I'm sorry.
feel like
Inside is
Ben definitely
bacon.
said that, didn't he?
Yes.
Inside is not caramel, Rob. I'm sorry. Inside is cooked bacon. You don't know. It's...
It's sweet and salty, I guess, but the meat and the chocolate is not really working. But like, Frank's looking at me really like expectantly, and I'm not. I'm gonna do my best. I don't want to be like, "Oh, it's great," because then he's gonna give me another one. But I don't want to be like,
him. I just don't want another one.
yeah. So I'll try and be like mildly positive but non-committal.
Yep. Now, when you folks kind of get the wind, when Tessa and Allie get the wind of the dwarves are here, you folks look out, and Tessa, you and Allie will recognize that engineer and that rune maker, as they were the ones that were the reason Anshid did not fall in that siege.
I will relay this information and also kind of try to ease Nikki's tension a little bit by talking about these dwarves and how great they are, and this is how amazing that this is, that Rin had sent like his best people. This means the temple is in really good shape, and this is all good news.
Allie has found something to distract her from the fact that Finn is back, which is the literal, like, you know, two of the, like, basically the saviors of Anshin are currently here. And she'd be like, no, seriously, like, it means that Rin really believes in this, which is a really good sign given how much Muradin likes him. So this is a good thing. Very good thing. I think that, you know, a trip to the mountain today is going to yield good results. And do you want more caffeine? You want more caffeine?
Nikki wants more caffeine.
Allie takes a look at you, realizes that you look particularly distressed, and you've never seen her do this before, but she's basically like being a little big sisterly right now, and not only makes you coffee, but stirs like some weird mixture of hot cocoa and sugar into it. You've functionally been made a mocha.
Fantasy mocha, hell yes.
Nice.
If anyone catches a glimpse of Kiki, she's used minor illusion to give herself a beard. She's trying to fit in with the dwarves. These are her new people now. She's decided she's basically.
This is my family. I'm here.
You're like a dog at the
individual
dog park. You're like, I'm going home with these ones now.
Yeah, like she's met individual dwarves before, but not like dwarven engineering corps.
Mhm.
Like she's ready to sign adoption.
Right. So he looks at me and goes, "Excuse me, Kegu. Do you have plans? You know, who set up the defenses around here?"
She had plans. She pulls out like 3 notebooks, and she's like, "For what?" Like she's like you'll see like bomb schematic, trebuchet, core.
So he'll
She's
look at
like-
your trebuchet schematic, and he'll put it up. Well, actually, he'll pull a lever, and a cork board flips from the side of this thing, and
Of course it does.
he goes, "Can you mind if I pin?" Because he wants to like really take a look at it. He does.
She's impressed by the corkboard. Like with everything she's seen, she's like, "That's also cool." She's basically like she's very excited.
Right, so he
Okay,
will
yes,
take
yes,
out
please.
he'll look at your plans and take out like a slightly different colored pencil, and what he does is he looks over it, and you see him nod, and then he begins to make he goes to put the pencil to your plan and goes, would you mind if I
Yes, go.
And he begins making not quite corrections, but like suggestions that are gonna, like, Kiki is incredibly intelligent, but he's doing things like a mentor would, about like he just has 100+ years of engineering on Kiki, like that's what he's doing. So he goes, well, this is very good. If you use this type of cord, you'll get more tension much more easily, and he'll start to just make really minor suggestions to how to make, this will throw a larger rock, you won't need as many resources, reinforce this here, and you won't risk it snapping. And
If he makes any comments about the knots that are in it, which are absolutely things that Allie advised Kiki on, Allie might be a little bit offended. But not much, given who it is.
Yeah. So he'll mark it up, and there's not that many of them, but there are, like, this is pretty good, for an engineer of your rank. But I think these, with time, you're gonna get, you'll have ironed all that out. Have you tested these yet?
Kiki, is Nikki outside?
I think Nikki's still inside with everything.
Okay. Kiki looks around and she's like, "No." If any of her friends are around, she'll be like, "No."
Okay. So he'll do one of those finger whistles, and a couple of his, like, probably builders come over, and he says, we're gonna make this, and they go, all right, and then they just start figuring out what they need, the materials they'll need for this, and start kind of like trying to figure that out.
Kiki also shyly offers up her sketch for a personal defense trebuchet that's worn on the wrist. Something she's come up with. She's not sure how viable it is. But
and he'll look at it and he goes, have you considered scorpions? Like, he means like the big crossbow type thing.
Kiki is familiar with crossbows, but she's not sure. Anyway, she'll go on having a whole...
Yeah,
Dude, is she going to learn how to make the Assassin's Creed, like, mini pocket bow thing?
That depends on how some rolls go, to be honest.
Scoot, I definitely did not think the ballista-y thing when you said scorpions, and I'm just like...
I thought it was a live scorpion, too.
Yeah, I was just like, oh, just put a scorpion on your wrist? Or is this like some dwarven thing where it's like, the wood is stronger if you cover it in scorpions?
100% was with you on that one.
Yes.
Yes, barrel-aged in a bath of scorpions for 3 years.
Just launching scorpions from the hand trebuchet.
Kiki realizes that a small crossbow is probably more practical than a hand trebuchet at this point. She puts it away, mildly deflated, but there's so much going on, she's excited. It doesn't really keep her down.
And this will kind of continue as we're gonna do a little bit of a time skip unless there's anything anyone really wants to do or any more business. Okay, so we're gonna skip forward as Tessa brings the dwarves to the mountain, and they begin working very diligently on putting, like, actual defenses into this place, building a perimeter wall, setting up a little bit of a camp. They talk with Nikki about, like, does she plan to build up this, turn this into a town? Because when they suggest that the engineer does that when this thing becomes operational, people are going to want to be here on your land. And have you given any thought to that? Like, you will have a population here. What are you going to do with that?
Yeah, I'll bring out, so I do have some maps of the area, and Robert does not quite have these maps yet, but he's working on it, I promise. But Nikki has some maps of the area with some, like, potential settlement ideas marked out for, like, additional towns, because, like, that part was not hard to figure out, right? Like, people are going to want to move here once the conclave is a thing and be close to it, and there's going to need to be restaurants and shops and support systems for people who are traveling here.
To your surprise, Allie's going to take a look at the map and gesture to a couple of spots and be like, there, and there are going to make for better farmland than development land, based on what your farmers in, and she points to a village, are saying, and also based on the fact that I've put plant growth on them.
I've been magically cultivating them.
This is the first I've heard of this, by the way.
Wow, thank you, Allie.
Of course.
Huh.
Thank you for casting magic on my land without telling me. That's so nice.
Well, it was friendly magic. Kate, I'm going to, as part of the maps that I don't quite have yet, I'm also going to be fleshing out the people who live there. And if you have anyone you particularly want to be there who you went and plant growth at, let me know.
Sure, can do.
We'll work it in.
Sweet.
I mean, to anyone, if there's anything specific you want on the land, I'm fleshing out the people who live there in the maps and stuff. So
also, listeners should note that there is a mild look of concern on Scoot's face, mostly because the last time that Robert and I got together for more than 10 minutes to talk about a lore-based thing, we invented an entirely new system of magic in Scoot's world.
You gotta watch out for those players; they'll get you.
Pretty great.
Mm-hmm.
Get involved writing in Gallifreyan.
Also, Rob, Scoot and I were talking about this before this session, because I imagine like the when the temple is done, like there might be like a little town around the entrance. I'm kind of thinking like in The Hobbit, like outside of the mountain dwarven area, how it had like that little town, like same thing, like vendors, not anything too like crazy at first, but I think that might work into your
That's exactly what I was talking about. Yeah, like the support structure and like the inns for the travelers. The hotel business is going to be.
Yeah. For right now, the temple itself is going to have some built-in dorms in the side of the mountain, but it's not. It's going to be more for like the delegates and stuff like that. But I do imagine it being like a touristy thing, kind of like how you would go to DC. Like you do the politics there, and then you go see all the cool shit.
Yeah. We'll get a Smithsonian of all of the relatives who have tried to kill me.
Yeah. Hang Dana up.
Wax statues. No, like a wax museum.
Oh, God.
Just like super creepy.
Oh, my God.
So speaking of that, actually, over this kind of jump, so we're going to jump probably about 2 months ahead in the timeline as your messages go out to people before. But something interesting happens is badgers show up. From Murtown, and they tell you that
badgers or badgers.
Badgers, like
okay,
there are badger folk, but these are badgers from the organization. It's a missive from that friend in Murtown that you made, and wow, has the Arc Paladin and Arc Cleric of Allure really picked up business for him, and like STD rates are an all-time low. It's great. So many people thumbs up at the same time.
Fuck yes, the lore and magic.
So he decided to do you a favor and try to go find at least some information on those other two relatives of yours. Unfortunately, he found out they have fled. They are no longer, as far as he can tell, in the Free Peaks, and he searched through the Free Peaks. Like any settlement, they're not here anymore for whatever reason. He doesn't know if they're dead, but he didn't do it. And the badgers didn't do it, but they're gone for some
biding
reason.
their time menacingly.
Oh yeah, that's some. That's nothing smells like shenanigans. More like I can't find my enemies anymore.
Yeah, but also like they've Dana seems to have lost a significant portion of her like holdings in profit and wealth. He doesn't know what happened. Well, he does, but he's going to be very coy about it. The messenger doesn't.
You'll love to hear it.
But like somehow she lost like a lot of money and picked up and left. Like she sold off property and stuff.
Okay, so I definitely need to get somebody out to her old shop in Storm's Ire. See who owns it now, see if he knows anything or she knows anything or they know anything about the provenances of Dana. Did Dana leave anything behind? Is this a friend of Dana? Is it Dana under a polymorph?
The messenger was like, they don't know that, but they will take it back to him. And they will, they are interested in also your land and what's coming up. Of course, they would love to establish a den down here. And, they've heard about now this mountain because, man, there's a lot of, like, not only the dwarves, but, like, tieflings have arrived from Doshnaral, and most of them are there's a few paladins of Allura, a couple of clerics, but also some more like workers and builders and tradesfolks have been sent from On Ball and On Tara, and that's drawn a lot of attention. And the Badgers are very curious about this, but they eventually got word of that there's this temple going on. The conclave has been found, although that's not super public information quite yet. They know.
If anyone knows it, it's the Badgers, yeah.
Right, and they're interested in having a place, not at the table per se, but definitely in the town.
Oh yeah,
and they would love to talk to you about that, and if that means
Allie is also very interested in that, for what it's worth.
Yeah. But if that means you need your relatives found or murdered, they might be happy to help with that.
Okay, definitely found would be ideal. I want more information than I want them dead, or I want information more than I want them dead. But I'll have the messenger. Randall is weighing the proverbial ball sack.
Like tomato, like information, death.
Did you just say Randall is weighing the proverbial ball sack?
Did you see his hand motions?
I want that to be the name of the section, but it has nothing to do with the context of the game.
Yeah, it's really
It doesn't
sad.
have to.
The proverbial ball.
It's better if it doesn't have context.
What was I saying? I was
The
distracted
Badgers
by ball
also
sacks.
absolutely should have
Badgers.
representation at the table as well. So they would be having Badger representation would definitely be welcome.
At
Yeah,
the table,
major power, for sure.
On the
Sure.
table, under the
You
table.
want to have the mafia there? That's perfectly fine.
Bent
Sure.
over the table.
I'll
have the messenger extend an invitation to the den mother.
She's gonna send that
to-
up. She'll send that up the chain because that's where that's gonna
Yeah.
go. Yeah.
Yep. Send that up the chain. I want to have the den mother from Murtown come visit and talk about sort of like franchising opportunities, branches, and things. I'll offer to have them stay at the estate and then do a tour of the area where we're thinking of setting up the town.
You're gonna kill Phyllis.
Oh yeah,
You were
Oh,
thinking
it's
about
gonna
that
be
love
great.
hotel too, right?
Can't deny it.
So like a lot of you're getting a lot of visitors from the local areas, but the first one that comes from afar is a person that you folks have met before. Is actually one of the first people that gave you one of your first jobs.
Huh?
As coming up, in a less showy way as having a boat land in your lake or a column of door show. Very quietly one day, Gen von Lyken appears, knocking on your door. The old patriarch of the von Lyken family in Thunderblade, although he has since retired, but he tells you that his son Patel is off doing business somewhere, but he decided to come and check the place out. He arrives drinking,
smoking.
Yeah, he has.
Yeah,
Of
drinking,
course,
smoking.
yeah.
Doesn't give a fuck.
Doesn't give a fuck.
Like,
Phyllis opens the door and starts to go, can I help you, sir? And I kind of come around the corner and see who's at the door. Gen! Oh my god, goodness! Come in.
Hello. He doesn't know who you are because you were different when you met him.
I was Nick back then.
Yeah?
It's
He goes,
true.
Oh, are you? I'm sorry. I'm looking for Docksborn.
Nick?
Yes.
That's me.
Oh.
Visually different. Same fella.
These things happen. And he offers you a cigar from his coat pocket because he's in full werewolf form.
Sure. If Mr. Von Lyken's going to be offering me cigars, I'm not one to say no.
Yeah. Where are the you've come quite a way so far from a street punk working security at my party to a street punk making
It's,
a temple. Yeah.
It's been a journey, sir. It's been a journey. I'll slap chat out that Gen's here.
That-
That was gonna be like,
very
who?
excited. Tessa would be excited, and she would explain to Allie like, "Oh, this is the patriarch of the werewolves I was telling you about. The one,
Great, werewolves, let's go.
yeah."
yeah,
So
Allie.
Allie.
Say hi too.
Yeah, so he does take a seat, and he, like, as you leave Nikki to go gather up the gang and kind of get everyone back in, you see that for the first time in probably a couple of weeks, he has Phyllis very calm as he has given him a drink, and he is somehow convinced, like, Phyllis doesn't take a lot of alcohol, but Gen has somehow convinced him to do this, and he's just listening to, they're swapping, like, old man stories. Phyllis in his sort of like the cucumber sandwiches way, and him like, oh, I know about that because Gen has done a lot of diplomacy in his day, along with a lot of trade. And he goes, Miss Darkspawn, your keeper is delightful, and I, if you're not careful, I might have to steal him for myself.
I'm sorry, he's quite occupied.
Oh, I am, and those, I'll never forget those dwarves swimming like they're. Most of their butts were so hairy, sir. So hairy. He goes, I've seen my fair of them. He takes a long pull of the drink.
I mean, they're werewolves.
God,
They all have very
talking
fluffy
about
butts.
he's talking about the dwarves. Like, it's a hairy lot, that battalion.
Which has a hairier butt, a dwarf or a werewolf?
Depends on the time
Depends
of
on the
month.
dwarf, to be honest. Like,
I'm asking the real questions.
Inquiring minds want to know.
Did the rest of you? I'm assuming the rest of you eventually come in to see Gen.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the first thing he sees is Kenku. He's just delighted to see Kiki.
Kiki is like, hi, and then she uses her mimicry trait to like howl. Like she heard him howl at one point. She doesn't know this is offensive or not. She's trying to bond, but she's like, oh.
He sees what you're trying to do, and he howls back with you. Blown anything interesting up lately, Kenku?
Oh, she was like, yes. And she pulls out a fake beard because she just got tired of casting. She got tired of casting Minor Illusion all the time. And then she just starts pulling out all the things like Trebuchet 2.0 and,
We've been working on with the Master Engineer.
Yeah, like basically it's not a linear presentation. This is not like she's got slides prepared. She goes into all of the...
Oh my god, can Kiki's beard be like Frank's hair? She just like starts pulling things out of the beard.
Just schematics and tools.
I feel like we could make this kind of like the boobs of holding. Like you could have your bag of holding concealed behind your beard so that it looks like you're constantly pulling things out of your beard, but it's
well, Tessa did give Kiki a robe of useful things. I think she could probably figure out a way to weave it.
You could probably reverse engineer that.
She will work on her list of many, many things. And then she'll talk about like all the repairs that she's been like doing for the like growing town and stuff like that, as well as defensive. And she goes, "Oh, but one more thing!" And then she floats like 3 inches up with her boots of flight, and she kind of, I don't know if Kinkus could actually blush, but she's like very proud that she can fly.
Look at that. I owe my wife a lot of money, and a lot of things are now apparently going to be happening. Chuckles to himself.
But she's very excited to see.
And where's the champion herself?
And Tessa comes walking in, so she goes over to Gen and gives him a big hug, as she is wont to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's so great to see you. It's been so long.
Yes, you are as strong as ever, he says, sort of being able to take it, although he's a little more brittle now in his older age.
She's like,
the ribs creak.
Yeah.
Can I get you anything? Some cookies or tea or something?
I would love a biscuit.
And she just she reaches in and she grabs like a couple cookies and brings them out.
I forgot about that, he says. He shakes his head. Where's Aaliyah? Is your druid still with you?
Neva.
Neva?
Neva. Damn it.
Actually, she was called away on business. But we actually have a new friend now. This is my cousin Allie.
Hey there. Nice to meet you.
And he takes a real big whiff into the air and he goes, "Fox?" And he sort of cocks his head a bit.
So we're at the if we're at the manor, Allie does not have her glamour on. She leaves the glamour for like strangers.
Yeah, but he's sort of processing that you're not. He doesn't.
Yes.
He hasn't pegged you as a kitsune, but he's sort of figuring that out because he's not, again, he doesn't know, like, is there a glamorous, are you wearing some magic, like, you know, do you have a beard like Kiki does?
There's a lot of weird shit going on.
Yeah, she doesn't
Allie
know.
nods and
Randall
kind of
is muted, but I'm
out
sure
behind
that
her a little
Kiki
bit.
has made us all beards.
You
was
can
gonna say, he
see
just-
Allie's tails fan out behind her a little bit, all 4 of them.
He just thought you were hot and just called you Fox. That's all.
And he sees the tails, he goes, you're the one that Kem was talking about.
You know Kem?
I know, yeah, I know a lot of people out and about.
I generally don't look in much the same way that it would feel racist for me to ask Tessa if she knows another tiefling. It would feel racist for me to ask another werewolf if he knows random other werewolf.
It would be, but I happen to.
Yeah.
He was a friend of one of my granddaughters.
Hmm.
And he stresses friend, and he sort of rolls his eyes a bit.
He seems to be a good friend.
I'm sure he is wandering around, and he sort of shakes his head a little bit. Now,
He's off in Lusama currently, I think.
Oh, good. Nothing like a post-Civil War country to make a profit in. And you don't know if he's serious about that or if he's mocking it, because he might have done things like that, but, you know, it's hard to tell with him. So he does sit down and goes, now, Mrs. Docksborn Champion, Ben Kala, he's not quite sure what title to use, honor.
You could just call me Tessa.
Tessa. Word has reached us in Thunderblade, and the Senate is looking to try to make a formal response. But luckily, I'm a private citizen, so I can do as I wish. I'm not held up by those such things. But it's come to my attention that you folks are planning to make some expansions to your various holdings. This temple, this quite lovely estate, he says, looking around, I'm sure people are going to be coming. How are you fixed for finances?
That's a great question. Hey, Scoot. So on the spreadsheet, we didn't have
Rob and I had to do fantasy economics the other night, which is why I got into dungeon mastering.
Please also note that about an hour after Rob and Scoot did fantasy economics, Scoot messaged me and said, Rob checked my math and found that I was off by 4 gold in one place.
On the tax rate, which I had to make
on
up.
the tax rate.
So Rob, you unless you want to have done a big project, but right now you wouldn't have had to spend a lot of money because the focus has been on the mountain, which the dwarves came with a lot of materials. However,
they've been kind of bankrolling that, right?
Yeah, but they have enough to set up a basic defensive perimeter and house the soldiers and paladins and volunteers that have come to more formally defend this place. But they're like, those folks are being currently paid by Rin and Duraheim and the High King up there.
Right.
You still have that money you got from that challenge because you haven't, we haven't had time to decide if you're going to build something, but expansion is going to cost a lot of money. Building thing is going to cost a lot of money, and you have money to start that now. But as we've developed with your land's finances, and right now Tessa doesn't have a way to make money for the mountain, you don't have a lot of resources. You don't have a lot of liquid assets currently.
Okay,
The
yeah.
items count, they're liquid.
Hey, nothing like that kind of liquid asset. Sorry. Randall just found a picture of a bird wearing a tie-on beard. And I don't know why this is a thing that already exists, but by God, he found it.
I'm glad it does.
Internet is
because
the answer.
because internet, yeah.
Because internet. Yeah, so...
It's really, really great. For birds.
Okay, so... Sorry, he asked about finances. We're doing... Okay, we certainly have enough to start... kind of get the ball rolling on expansion, but with the number of people that I'm seeing come in, it's going to be somewhat clunky going until we get... definitely going to be looking to get some additional investment to get the ball rolling, get construction going, all that jazz, but certainly not in a hurting spot.
Okay. Well, I came... normally my son would be doing these things, but he's busy in the store miles back home. Some fishing disputes, things going on there. There was a manager not being very good to the fishermen. He had to go deal with that. Aggressive negotiations, of course, he says. He goes that we have to put someone else in there because he'll be dead, probably.
I was really looking forward to like a inventive metaphor there, but I also
Gen doesn't
the
fucking
bluntness.
care anymore. He's not in charge. He doesn't have to be. But when we heard about this, I decided to sort of act in his stead as the Von Lycken family is interested in the success of this project, certainly, and the, expand in its being healthy, because the temple obviously will not stand on itself, and we can't have it falling into a particular country or government's hands. That's not really the point of the conclave. It needs to be neutral ground, but that means you're going to need funding to keep it that way. Now, you can, I guess, petition different realms, different powers, but you're going to need something to start with, of course. And there's a big wolfy smile on his face from years of doing things like this, as he clearly has a plan or a proposal.
I would be delighted to hear your terms.
So, the Von Lycken family has been we know a thing or two about building things. We were there at the foundation of Thunderblade and have been a prominent member since. I believe we would also like to be part of this again, seeing something that was good from the old, one of the few good things of the old pre-imperial days, come back into the world that could do some good. So we'd like to invest into your town and into the mountain if you and Tessa would have us.
I don't see why that would be a problem.
He smiles again.
You're welcome.
Wonderful. Now, there are some terms, of course, that we'd have to agree to.
There always are. Do go on.
Well, we would just, when the industries come, of course, we would like to get a cut of that when you start making a profit, of course. To see a return on the investment. And also, this being very far from Thunderblade, almost a full part of the world, I would feel more comfortable, I think Patel would be as well, if we had some eyes and ears and some perhaps representation to kind of see how things are going, plus someone to help you manage some of these things.
Did you have somebody in mind?
I do. My granddaughter, actually, Bendo.
Did
Oh, we met
we
her.
happen
Yeah.
to meet her?
Yeah, she was the rogue that helped you with the weed back at the party.
Ah,
She was the one that actually
yeah.
introduced you to Gen in the first place.
Okay, right. A little fantasy nepotism. What's not to love?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, when you say cut, do you mean
So
are we
that-
talking loan or are we talking a perpetual sort of thing?
I mean, investments flowing in, helped get you started, and then, just maybe first crack at the retail space. First crack, maybe we help to build the first inn, maybe we run it, or, friends of ours. We don't want to be we're not looking to make it a monopoly, right? That's a bit much to ask, obviously.
As you say, it needs to stay neutral.
But maybe just, when all the plots of land and all the, when the potential list of businesses and things that need to come out, perhaps we just see a little bit beforehand. Of course, this is your land, Miss Oxborn, or I suppose Stormeyer's. I'm not sure how it totally works here. And of course, the temple is Tessa's for what is for Tessa's to decide. Thank God I edit this thing. Is for Tessa to decide what happens. We don't want to push too much, but we do want to see a return.
I think we can work something out there.
All right.
So that sounds broadly agreeable. If there's any fiddly details that we really need to figure out for the sake of the tracking cash flow and stuff, we'll deal with that later.
Okay. So with this, he extends his big old werewolf hand to you.
I give it a shake.
Okay. You bind the deal. Not magically. This is just a business transaction. And he informs you that his granddaughter, Bendo, is actually quite versed in politics and dealing with dignitaries, as she's gone with him and his son many, many times to deal with these things. And it might help, because you realize now he was sort of getting information from Phyllis, not maliciously, but definitely to see if he could, and it was surprisingly easy. And, without an insight check, it strikes you that maybe you don't want Phyllis dealing with the folks that are going to come here, the dignitaries and people that are very politically savvy. Like, Phyllis is a great keeper. He's very good and very honest and has been true to you and the people that live here, and he should probably stay in that job. But when the more not wholly benevolent royalty and nobles and merchant lords start showing up,
The ass hats.
Yeah.
From like the Federation.
Yeah, you maybe don't want, and like, if Tessa suggests that to you, for example, there are families amongst the Federation called the Carais that are just as savvy as Venti merchants and will fight with them tooth for tooth. Not a war, but economically, but they do, financial sabotage and things. And Phyllis is not going to be your guy for that. And honestly, Tessa is probably not your woman for that either. So
she's going to be dead busy with doing her own diplomacy thing, yeah.
So having somebody around here that knows how to deal with a lot of these entities may not be a bad idea. But it's up to you.
No, I think that sounds like an excellent idea.
Sounds reasonable to me.
Okay, good. And he goes, I'll be right back. And you see him kind of put his eyes down, and you know what he's doing. He's sending a message. Into the room walks his granddaughter Bendo, but she looks very, very different from the first time you saw her. I'm going to give you a kind of a face claim of roughly what she looks like, just so you can see it in the Discord. She looks like that, but she's in a full human form. She's not super tall. She's probably mid 5 foot. And Nikki, roll me an insight check with advantage.
My wife moved my dice when she was here earlier today.
He's always rolled 20.
Yeah. I have it open. I reached for the dice and my hand closed on air. It's stressing.
Disconcerting, I'm sure. I know, right? You're
like,
no, my dice.
It's like when you reach for your phone, you're like, oh god, where is it?
It's like you go for the pocket pat and there's nothing there, and it's like,
yep.
Sorry, insight you said?
Yeah, insight with advantage.
10.
Allie, go ahead and give me an insight check with advantage.
Do I have another? Okay, I'm going to use one more inspiration. My last one that I have saved up. How about a 21? That's more like it.
21 works.
28.
So between the two of you, there's a moment where you're kind of looking this woman up and down. Again, it's a little odd because there's Ged in his full wolfed out form, and this very pleasant, charming, well-spoken young, kind of redheaded woman, just chatting with you and introducing herself, probably talking to Tessa, and you two notice that she is incredibly disarming. And then you realize, oh, she's incredibly disarming. Like, she is a savvy operator that is very unassuming. And Nikki, you've seen people on the docks in Ventos run this grift 100 times. They are she's not playing up the like, I'm a poor lost intern card, but
a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Yeah, you've seen that happen, and you've seen that many times. Allie, you've seen this too literally with some of the like Inosun and wolf folk that come down from the mountains. There is a confidence in her, but she's again just very sweet and pleasant.
Cool. It seems like it's going to be good to have that ability on our side, shall we say? And
she smiles and goes, "I'm very happy, and I hope I will do I'm very happy for you to give me this opportunity, and I want you to know I will live up to all the expectations my grandfather has And she kind of looks at him and she goes, "Put upon me." And there's a sort of smile that probably Allie would recognize as this is a child of a very prominent, in this case, very powerful family. Unlike your dad, who was just sort of in the position because of he was a hero of the war. The von Lycans have been in power for a long time. And he goes, I hope to serve you as best I can. Of course, I wouldn't dare step on Phyllis's feet, but I do hope that, and she kind of turns her attention towards him, but he could show me some of the ropes, and he's like, well, of course, and he kind of gets up, and he is just...
I feel like he's gonna do, like, the grandfatherly, like, I'm going to take this youngster under my wing, and they're gonna learn from me.
Yep, and she is going to let him do that, as he begins to give her the kind of lay of the land, although, Allie, you see she kind of turns around and gives you a wink, and then moves off with Phyllis.
Meta question. Are she and I Eskimo sisters?
You'll have to ask her.
Alright.
Oh.
Absolutely. In the process of other conversation.
Yes. But yeah, you have so Robert. Now amongst your staff, you have what we'll refer to as a seneschal. So somebody's gonna be handling more of the political things, whereas Phyllis is still gonna be your keeper, kind of running the household. Making sure the food is stocked and that the staff is paid. But he has now kind of been relieved of his entertaining the guest duties and dealing with all these insane political figures that are just appearing on his door randomly at night. Like, he no longer has to deal with that. And probably the next day he will come to you, much like Kate's, like a very proud grandfather, and also very relieved that he doesn't have to keep dealing with kings showing God he's so happy to not. He just wants to do.
Oh yeah.
He wants to do your books and pay your staff and like order stuff. That's what he wants to do at this point.
Yeah, and like make sure that I have the plates in the right cupboards, and then not have to see the royalty taking the plates out of the cupboard.
Yeah, that's what he would much prefer to do.
How do I spell Bindo? Is it B-Y-N-D-O?
B-Y-N-D-O. Yep. B-Y-N-D-O. Von Lycan. And she is a werewolf, technically, but she is... Gen will tell you she is the... Out of all the Von Lycan, she's the most comfortable. What he refers to as in the buff, meaning not in a werewolf form.
Okay. He says that, and I look at her, and she's fully clothed, and I... There's like a little like gear, like chunk. Werewolf thing. Got it. Okay. I'll deal with the economic side with you later.
Right. I think this might be a good place to stop for tonight, folks, as we have a whole bunch of new people and time is skipped. In the meantime, between now and next week, if you folks want to have done anything in that 2 months to further your own causes, I'm sure Kiki has a lot of apprenticing, I guess would be the word, that she might be doing with this master engineer. But also kind of what you want to do from here next. You still have this interesting family situation. We still have to deal with that about what's going on. The Badgers might be able to give you more information. We have this whole going and seeing different world powers and seeing what they think about becoming members of the Conclave. And that rogue and shadow man that we learned from Galia, what they're still out there. Those 3 folks that seem to come from other planes and are causing all sorts of a ruckus, as if you've heard about something like that before, about 3 people coming from different places and causing all sorts of problems.
Wait.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get the reference.
It was something to do with Thrax that, when Will was playing with us, thought Thrax was a part of.
Oh.
Yeah.
Right, that.
But I believe this will do it for us this week in Ryam, folks. Thank you very much for coming out. Stay safe, and we will see you next week.
Bye.